Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and this is a Dreams tutorial. Previously we did an XP tutorial where I showed you how you could level up your player. Now we're going to expand on that to create some skills. So we're going to have skill points that the player can then allocate to attributes of the player, so they can choose which area to upgrade. So let's have a look and see what I built. So here's our player. At the top right hand corner you can see how many objects he can carry. So that's his strength attribute. He can only carry one object at the moment. So let's go collect an object. Yeah, he's collected that object. I'll go and collect another one. Oh, I can't carry anymore. It won't let me pick that up. So now I'm going to press L1 and R1 together, and that gets me my menu up. It shows me how much XP I've got, and I've got a debug version of artificially increasing my XP. Obviously in your game it will be killing enemies, picking things up, maybe even just surviving in your game will give you XP. But in this game I've got a button that I can press to create some XP, and that will create me some skill points. So I've got some skill points available and I can spend them on either speed or strength. So I'm going to expend them on speed and see what that does. Well, now I can jog. So up one more, and now I can run about a bit more. Let's go one more. Now it's really quite fast and I've got to be careful not to fall off. But if I do fall off and I die, all those points still remain exactly as they were. Right, let's increase our strength, shall we? We need some skill points. There we go, a skill point. We can now carry 3 objects. And if we go up again, there we go, I can create a level so I can pick up all of these because there are 7 objects and I can carry 8. So there we go. So that's the idea. Let's have a look and see how this works. Okay, so first of all we've got a series of microchips, and we've got our objects with microchips in, and there's also a microchip that I need to put in my player. So first of all then, let's have a look at our main variables. So I have a variable called skill, a variable called XP, a variable called level, and a variable called inventory. So all of those are in there. This one is the skill points we're going to spend. This one is the XP that we're creating that creates the skill points. And this is the level that determines the calculation on how quickly those skill points can be collected up from how much XP it is. So not to get too complicated, somebody asked in the last tutorial, I had it so that every 10 XP you went up a level, how would you get it so that it was more and more difficult to advance a level? And I said you could use a calculator, and so that's what I've got here. So we have our level here and a calculator that times it by 5, and then that is the calculation that goes into our XP here. So this number is in the B part, so the level times 5 goes into here, and this XP has got to be over 0 for this to do anything. There's the calculator there, so you don't get skill points straight away. And then the XP goes into the A, so it's looking at A and dividing it by this number, and if the result is equal to 0, then that means we want to level up. So we're going to level +1, so it's looking for the variable level, and in this one it's looking for the variable skill, and it's going to add a skill point as well. So it's going to do both level up and add a skill point. And there is our skill point, so that's going up. So let's see that in action. Right, so here we go. I'm going to press down and then create some XP. That's created some skill points up here. There's our level there. There's our level there. So our level and our skills are going to be the same, I think, every time. But this number can go down. Well, this number will stay the same. So as we spend our skill points, this will go down 6, 5, 4. But this will still stay at 7 and go up. So you can see how this is working as I'm pressing on R2. So this is just an artificial way of creating XP. Obviously in your game you'll be killing monsters and things. But this is just an artificial way using a variable modifier just to increase the XP for demo purposes. Okay, so that's how the skill points are being created. So now let's have a look and see how we open up our menu. I've got a node here, and I've wired the L1 button into the input and the R1 button into the power. So both of these need to be pressed in for this node to work, and the node is linked to a signal manipulator which is set to custom remap toggle on. So this is a toggle, so when you press L1 and R1 the menu comes up, and you press it again the menu goes away. And this is linked to the power of our points allocation microchip, which is this one over here. Also on this microchip is our inventory. This is our inventory number, how many things we've picked up, how much things we've got currently picked up, and here are the text displayers for this up here. So we've got a number displayer linked to the current value, and the maximum value is linked to that final number there after the slash. So that's what that is displaying. Right, let's have a look at the points allocation menu. We'll just move over here. So we have number displayers, text displayers, and that's displaying all of this information here. So that's what all these text displayers are doing. They're pulling in the numbers from various variables. So our variables for strength and speed are held in these separate microchips. So if I open up the speed one there, you can see there's a variable there for speed, and we're using that number in here to display that number on our menu, and we're also using this microchip to check to see if we have maxed out on how many times you can increase your speed. So we've got a controller sensor here. This is remote controllable, so you set that here like that, and when you press on the up button, and A is checking to see if this number is bigger than 0. So are there any skill points to spend? And then this one is looking to see if we are not at our final selection option. If we're at the final one, then we can't increase it anymore. So that's what that's looking for. So is it at the end, not at the end? Have you pressed the correct button, and are there skill points to spend? If all of those are true, then we're going to use a variable modifier to up the speed by 1 and to -1 plus -1 for the skill. So we're removing a point from the skill and increasing the speed number. And there's also some sound effects there for that. Sound effects make a big difference to your user interfaces. Don't forget the sounds. It really does make a difference. It feels better. It feels like you're pushing and doing something if there is a sound effect. So I always recommend that you use one of those. Right, so I'm looking for the speed. Let's have a look and see what happens on the speed microchip. The speed microchip then. So we have a number. This is our speed level. And here is our selector. Level 0, level 1, level 2, and this is level 3. So what happens here is, first of all, we have got no speed whatsoever. So what we do is we go into our puppet logic and open the tweak menu of the blank puppet. And if we hover over this keyframe, you'll see this is set to a run speed of 2. And this keyframe is set for 3. And this keyframe is set for 8.5. So there we go. Much, much faster. And D is also linked to be the fastest as well. Because we're just going up 3 levels. And then there's no increase in speed. So we've only got run to jog. If we jog to run, then that's it. There's no increase after that, because this is going to act as our final one. So this is not really active. We just make sure that we wired it up to this one in case we die, and it resets so that we're on output D and it knows what speed to run. So that's the speed one. Then we got a very similar one for the strength. So exactly the same. So we're looking to see, have we pushed the correct button? Are there points to spend? And is the strength selector not at the final option? Whoops. There we go. Final option is still D. There we are. And this time, the keyframe is changing the inventory maximums. So if we open up the inventory, these keyframes are going to be changing this. So if we open up this keyframe, whoops, that sets to 1. This one sets to 3. And this one sets it to 8. So there we go. This is how you would set up your inventory to increase and increase and increase as you go down the selector. And here is our strength variable, and that's the one that we're adding to when we push that button. So as you can see, we've got variable modifiers. This one's speed. It's changing to speed +1. It's doing -1 on skill. And on strength, it's doing the same, but for strength. +1 for strength, plus -1 for skill. So exactly the same process, exactly the same thing, except obviously these microchips are doing completely different things. Now let's have a look and see how the inventory understands and knows whether or not it can be collected or not. Inside our player's logic, I've got a microchip. This is my pickup information. And here we go. So this is looking at the inventory number, and it's looking to see, is the amount of objects in the inventory, so the current value of the inventory, less than the maximum value of the inventory. So you wire those from that variable in our main variable. So that's the current value and that's the maximum value. So it's looking to see, can I pick anything else up? If it's true, then it's looking to collect. And it's got a trigger zone, which is in his feet. And in fact, I will move that because it's moved a bit. Sometimes that happens. Right, trigger zone there. That's going to collect the object. If, however, this is not true, so we have maxed out the amount of objects we can carry, then we're going to look to say we're full. So it can still find an object, but this time it's looking for the full tag. So this is looking for tags. It's looking for the collect tag, and this one is looking for the full tag. And these are only turned on depending on whether or not you've got carrying the objects or not. So in this, in this microchip, you've got two tags, one that's collect and one that's full. So if you're looking for the collect tag, then it's going to destroy as soon as the player detects this block. It's going to destroy the block. It's going to add one to the inventory, and it's going to play a sound effect. If, however, it's looking for the full tag, then it's just going to put up the text displayer. Can't carry any more. There we go. It's as simple as that. Right. So these things can get very, very complicated, and depending on what you want to do, you might have more calculations in this. You might have more attributes, more microchips with attributes for the player. You might have different animations that are available. So maybe as you add skill points, he becomes a little bit more handy with his sword or something like that. He gains extra moves. All of these would have to be built into these separate microchips, and then you would make your selections here. So which button are they adding to? What variable are they adding to? And then in your microchips, you would then allocate either keyframes or animations or other variables, modifiers to alter other variables, to alter other things. Like I say, it can get very, very complicated. This is probably not something I'd recommend to a beginner to try. However, I'm going to launch this into the Dreamverse for you to have a look at, and you could always remix it and use it in your own level if this is the sort of thing that you want. Okay, I hope that was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.